complete transformation of the heart. And our acharyas, they explained this path. Ado shraddha tatah sadhu sangha radha bhajana kriya anartha nivriti syat nishta ruchi asakti bhava and prema. It's a very amazing description of the spiritual journey. But the first stage is shraddha. And as we said in the first day, first evening, let's take this down. Srila Rupa Goswami says that this plant which is sown in the soil of our heart is supposed to grow. And ultimately it will grow to the spiritual world. It basically means that the constitution of our heart will be completely changed, and we will be transferred to spiritual world. But for that the seed should be proper, because sometimes we know that instead of the real seed, some weeds are growing. And sometimes these weeds may look like the real seed, especially if you don't know how the real seed and the real plant looks like. And we sometimes don't know how the plant of bhakti, the bhakti lata, should look like. I sometimes tell this funny story from my early days in Krishna consciousness, when we were completely underground, and there was no, of course, tulsi, and we didn't know what tulsi is. We only heard about tulsi. And we knew that we were supposed to do this tulsi puja, and we were doing tulsi puja without tulsi. Yani kani chapamani. We're going around a chair. Yani kani chapamani. And then one lady devotee sent by Kirtiraj from Sweden, she brought 7 seeds of tulsi plant. It was very rare commodity. In the whole of Russia there was not a single tulsi. So we got the first 7 seeds of tulsi. And we put these seeds in the soil, and then after a few days there were 2 plants. Out of the 7 seeds, 2 plants were there, but they were somewhat different. And by the time it was going on, they were more and more different. And we didn't know, what is tulsi. We assumed that both are tulsi, but they were completely different. So anyway, it was myself and my friend, and we divided this between ourselves. I kept one plant and he kept another plant, and we were watering these plants very diligently and going around them, yani kani chapapani. And after months, it so happened that mine was real tulsi. And his was a very strange sort of like a cabbage. but he was completely convinced that this was real. Because he'd never seen tulsi. So he moved to another city in the mountains, and I came to visit him, and there was this strange plant. And yani kani chapa. We were going around. I kind of, I was a little doubtful, and I said, it looks really strange. But he was so offended, he said, no, this is. And I I didn't want to go around it, but he basically forced me. And then we went out and we were walking, and I saw so many tulusis growing in the mountains, because, very strange, this tulisi gave some, some outgrowths, and there was some little flowers, and then there was some something flying in the air. And first I saw that there's a lot of things flying in the air, the same stuff. And then I saw, look, this is the same stuff. So that was the illustration of Chaitanya Charitamrita metaphor, that there are sometimes weeds growing together with the real plant. And therefore we have to know, what is real plant, what is not real plant. And in our case, the seed is Shraddha. And what I want to talk today about the quality of the seed. Because depending on the seed, what is sown in our heart, the plant will grow, and it may bring us to Goloka, it may not bring us to Goloka. It may bring us to heavenly planets, if it's a good weed. It may not bring us anywhere. So therefore I will read the first verse of the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is the question of Arjuna. Arjuna very intelligently asked this question. The 17th chapter is called Divisions of Faith, and Arjuna is asking this question: Yes Shastra Vidim Utsrija Yajante Shrayayan Vita Tesham Nishta Tu Ka Krishna Sattvam Ahorajastamam. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture but worship according to their own imagination? Even though with faith, Shraddhayan Vitah, they are Anvitah, Shraddhayan Vitah, they are full of faith. Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? Srila Prabhupada makes the purport. In the 4th chapter, 39th verse, it is said that a person faithful to a particular type of worship gradually becomes elevated to the stage of knowledge and attains the highest perfectional stage of peace and prosperity. In the 16th chapter, the previous chapter, it is concluded that one who does not follow the principles laid down in the scriptures is called an asura, demon. And one who follows the scriptural injunctions faithfully is called a deva, or demigod. Now, if one with faith follows some rules which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions, what is his position? This doubt of Arjuna is to be cleared by Krishna. Are those who create some sort of God by selecting a human being and placing their faith in him, worshipping in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Do such persons attain the perfectional stage of life? Is it possible for them to be situated in real knowledge and elevate themselves to the highest perfectional stage? Do those who do not follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but who have faith in something and worship gods and demigods and man, attain success in their effort? Arjuna is putting these questions to Krishna. So Arjuna very intelligently puts these questions to Krishna, because it's indeed, when we look around, everyone is worshipping somebody, everyone is believing in something. In Russia they put Lenin in the tomb, in Samadhi, and to prove that he is still in Samadhi, they maintain his dead body. There is the whole institution, few hundred people work to maintain this body intact, just to show that he's there. And I remember, it's not there anymore, but before that there was a huge queue before entering the mausoleum, at least for 2-3 hours, people to have darshan of the dead body of Lenin. and they would stand in queue for 2-3 hours under severe cold or heat or whatever. And this is worship, this is religion. And people they have faith. People had tremendous faith in Lenin, people had tremendous faith in Hitler, people had tremendous faith in Sai Sati Baba, people have tremendous faith in anyone, basically. And because we're all believers. By nature we're believers. So what is our faith? Where is our faith? Is our faith proper or not? And the last chapter, the 16th chapter, the previous chapters, there was the concluding verse, or not the very last. Shastram vidi utsreja vartate kamakarata. Nasa siddhima nati nasukam na paramgatim. Those who are rejecting the injunctions of the Shastras. Shastra vidi mutsrija vartate kamakarata. But taking their own karma, their own desire as the main, as the supreme, nasa siddhima vapnati, they will never attain success. Krishna is very clear. Nasukam, they will never become happy. Na paramgatim, they will never attain the supreme destination, the supreme goal. So, therefore, basically, Arjuna is asking here, what is the situation of people who are not following Shastras? And I wanted to speak about these two different kinds of faith. Shastriya Shraddha and Lokika Shraddha. Srila Jiva Goswami calls first Shastriya Shraddha, and he explains what Shastriya Shraddha is. Shastriya Shraddha doesn't mean that I believe in Shastra. Because, I may say I believe in Bhagavad Gita. Or I may say I believe in Bible. I may say I believe in Srimad Bhagavatam. Does it mean it's Shastriya Shraddha? No. Srila Jiva Goswami makes a very important formula he gives. Shastrartha Vishwas. Vishwas means the trust, and not in Shastra, in the meaning of Shastra. Because we may believe in Shastra and follow very religiously or mechanically Shastric rules. There are so many fanatics, and they don't know the artha, the meaning of these rules. I'm following externally I'm following the rules, but I don't know the meaning. What is the meaning of this rule? How I should follow this, which consciousness I should follow. Therefore, this definition is very important. Shastriya Shraddha or proper Shraddha means faith in the meaning of Shastra. Shastrartha Vishwas. And not even faith, but trust. Trust is also a very important word here. It's basically that I have to have trust that ultimately Shastra, even if I don't understand everything, but ultimately that Shastra brings me to higher destination. That's very important, because we may understand something, we may not understand something, but the ultimate meaning of Shastra is, and this is what our acharyas, they prove very scientifically, that ultimate meaning of Shastra is love of God. That's Shastra Artha. And I have to believe in this goal, that I have to achieve love of God. That all the scriptures is about this. And if I'm not achieving love of God by following the scriptures, something is wrong. If I'm killing other people on the pretext of following scriptures, my scriptures, or whatever it is, there's something wrong. If I hate other people because they believe differently than myself, something is wrong. I don't understand the meaning of Shastra. The meaning of Shastra is to make my heart clean and soft and nice, so that Krishna may enter my heart, God may enter my heart. If this doesn't happen, then I don't understand the meaning of Shastra, and my goal is different. I don't believe in this goal of love. Every scripture, whether we take Quran or Bible or Vedic scriptures, they ultimately talk about unity, and unity means love. Love of God. It may be explicit and may be implicit, but still it's there. So this definition is very important, Shastrartha Vishwas, for Shastriya Shraddha. But Srila Jiva Goswami also gives a very important definition of Lokika Shraddha. Lokika Shraddha, he gives definition Loka Parampara Prapta. Loka Parampara Prapta means this is the phase which you received from the social, from the society, from the people in the society. Loka Parampara Prapta. You don't get it from the Shastra, you don't get it from Guru, you don't get it from really studying the Shastra under the proper guidance of spiritual master. You get it from somebody, somebody told me something, and this is very common. This is one pramana which is very common in ISKCON. How do you know one Mataji told me? There are so many rules and regulations which are told by one Mataji in the kitchen. That's basically the meaning. Loka Parampara Prapta means you're getting it from, you overheard it somewhere. There's basically what Srila Jiva Goswami means by saying Loka Parampara Prapta is that it's some sort of superstition. And we know this is all the time going on, superstition. Somebody said this, and this interpretation becomes the rule, and somebody repeats this, and it's going on. Why do we follow Ekadashi? So many strange stories are there. So what I want for us tonight to compare these two kinds of faith, because this Lokika Shraddha is not bad. When you don't have any Shraddha, it's not so good. Later, Srila Prabhupada will say in the commentary of the third verse, he will say something very important. He will say that any strong faith is coming from the mode of goodness. It should be understood that if one's heart is in the mode of goodness, his face is in the mode of goodness. Where is it? Anyway, he says this in the commentary of the third verse. He said that the strong faith is coming here. The word Shraddha or faith is very significant in this verse. Shraddha or faith originally comes out from the mode of goodness. So originally, the very notion, the very idea of Shraddha or belief is coming from mode of goodness. So Shraddha is not bad. And even Lokika Shraddha is not bad. But and in the beginning, it's our faith will inevitably have some element of this Lokika Shraddha, because we don't have too much, conviction inside. Therefore, the tendency will be to seal the gaps in our faith by all these superstitions, by this, overheard notions, by some miracles. One of the most important quality or the sign of Lokika Shraddha is your belief, not even belief, the thirst for miracles. Your faith is so weak that you need miracles to confirm this faith. Why such people there are so many miracle making sadhus, or just creating faith by making miracles. in Srila Radhanath Maharaj's book, there is a very beautiful story about one yogi who gathered many people, and he created a Shivalingam out of his palm, and he really created this Shivalingam, and then he put this palm like this, and vibhuti started flowing from his palm, and the whole Shivalingam was covered. And then when he finished this, and he said, something to the effect that I'm doing this because I know some magical trick, but I'm not God. Don't believe anyone who says that by doing this he becomes God. God is not so cheap. So there are some honest people who have some mystical power, and they use it to create honest faith in people, not in this mystical, not in these miracles, not in these trivial things. Because there are so many magicians who also, I went to a circus, and magician can put a rabbit out of head, and it's really the rabbit is there in the head. And before it was no rabbit, and he takes rabbit. So does it mean that he's God, or I have to believe in him? But honest people, they don't create this artificial sort of faith. Prabhupada was very particular about this. He was really hammering his disciples, Shastra, 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 Shastra. Real sadhu always says from Shastra. Mukunda Maharaj, he remembers a funny story. He came to Prabhupada. He only met him a couple of times, and he had some ideas, about India, mystical India, Sanskrit. And he said, Swamiji, can you teach me Sanskrit? And Prabhupada says, yes, why not? I can teach you Sanskrit. So he appointed time. At that time, nobody was there, just, Prabhupada was mostly alone. So this Michael Grant, in future Mukunda Goswami, came to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, you will teach me Sanskrit. Prabhupada says, sure, I will teach you Sanskrit. And then he recited the verse, Ishvara Paramah Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. And for 2 hours he was speaking about Krishna and how he is the source of everything, he doesn't have any beginning, and this and that, and and then Mukunda Maharaj asked, what about Sanskrit? Prabhupada said, it's not so important. Mukunda Maharaj said, I didn't learn much Sanskrit, but I really was convinced that Krishna is something special. So Prabhupada was giving this Shastriya study. He was stressing this point, not this mystic things, Shastra. You have to have this faith in Shastra. So what I'm saying is that inevitably in the beginning some element of logic, Shraddha will be, because we will not have complete conviction in the words of Shraddha in the beginning. But still we have to know very clearly where this Shastriya Shraddha is, how it looks like, and how the Lokika Shraddha looks like, and what is the difference between the two. So I want to describe a few signs of Lokika Shraddha and Shastriya Shraddha, so that we can also measure ourselves. And the meaning of this discussion or description is for us to understand what is lacking in our faith. Not to make us desperate, not to, put us into some sort of guilt trip. We will have some element of Lokik Shraddha, Loka Parampara Shraddha. But we also have to be very conscious about not promoting this Lokika Shraddha. To have some Lokik element in our Shraddha, or some superstitious element in our Shraddha, is not bad. But if we promote it, that's bad. And sometimes we consciously or unconsciously promote it. I know one sannyasi, I will not tell his name. He always, he wants to create faith in his followers. How he creates this, he says, my Govardhan makes always such miracles. Today I offered him 3 dates, and I came and there was only 2 dates. He ate 1 date, and it's not good. It's not good because you put the wrong foundation. This is the wrong seed. This is, you may be well intentioned, but this sort of faith will not bring you too high. You will always look for miracles, You will, next time you will offer 3 dates to the Shalagram Shila, and then you will wait when the third one will disappear. And if it will not disappear, you will lose your faith. Because the foundation is wrong. This is not the correct foundation. So let's talk a little bit about this, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
If you have some desire.
Tomorrow is Ekadashi, so it can be overnight.
No, that's the day after tomorrow overnight.
Oh, sorry.
Today we should have nice sleep. The day after tomorrow.
Salah is leaving day after morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the most important distinction and the most important quality of both faiths is that Laukika Shraddha is inevitably mechanical. It's external. People who have this Laukika Shraddha, they do everything as a magical ritual. Why do we chant Hare Krishna mantra? Because it will bring you, it will help you to find a good husband. It's very relevant in Russia because we have majority of unmarried women. They chant Hare Krishna very religiously. But the idea is, it's some ritual, some magical ritual. There is this element of mysterious magical ritual, should always be there, and it will be mechanical because it's ritual. You just have to very religiously do everything, and we can see that in religions where Laukika Shraddha is very prominent, they have such a stress in all these details of the ritual. Before entering the temple or whatever, you have to wash your hands 7.5 times. And then you have to wash your feet, and then you have to wash your left ear or whatever it is. There's all these little small details, and they think if I miss one detail, so the magic will not work. So there is no meaning of artha. You don't understand the meaning of the ritual. You don't understand the internal mechanism, how it works on your consciousness. And you try to do all the details of the ritual quite mechanically. So, Shastriya Shraddha, as opposed to it, always, the Shastriya Shraddha always brings you to the essence. You know the goal of what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing in regards to the goal. You're not doing it mechanically as a ritual, but you know that this is something which should bring me to this particular goal, and you know how you will reach this goal. So you're doing it consciously, and if you have real faith, then this understanding that it should bring me to this goal will be very prominent. You will not do it just because we have such religion, therefore everyone is doing this, and therefore I am doing this. So many people just doing it because my father did it and my grandfather did it, and there is this famous story about the cat in the basket. You know, there are different varieties of the story, but one variety is that, you know, one pujari was there and he was doing his puja, and the cat was wandering around, and you know, when he would make offering, the cat would come and take the offering. And Pujari was intelligent enough to understand that this is not a miracle, but the cat ate the offering. So he didn't like it. So for the time, you know, of his puja, he would put his cat, you know, the black cat, it happened to be the black cat which was living there in the temple, in the basket. And he was doing his puja, ringing his bells and everything. You know, and then Pujari died, but you know, his successor, he knew that, you know, then the cat should be in the basket during the offering. So then the cat died, and you know, the offering is not complete if the cat is not in the basket. So they brought a new cat, and we put the cat in the basket. And then somebody else came and they saw the process of puja, and the cat is in the basket, and they said this is very important to have cat. Otherwise the deity will not accept the offerings. So very soon the whole state, you know, in every temple there was a cat in the basket during puja. Because this is loka parampara prapta. This is how it works. This is loka parampara. You know, and then there was, you know, somebody came and wrote a PhD, you know, the meaning of the cat in the basket for Hindu rituals. So there are so many stuff like this. So this is the first distinguishing factor of Lokik Shraddha. You know the goal and you know how to reach the goal if it's Shastriya Shraddha. And for Lokika Shraddha, you just do it because your fathers did it and your grandfather did it, and you know, everyone is doing it, therefore I'm doing this. So then the next distinguishing factor is that usually Lokika Shraddha is sentimental. It's quite weak, and it's very pliable. It's not really stable. Whereas Shastriya Shraddha, you have the compelling reasons to believe. You're not believing because everyone else is believing, but you have internal reasons to believe. That basically, the basic distinguishing factor is that Lokika Shraddha is external, but Shastriya Shraddha is internal. It's your internal conviction. And because Lokika Shraddha is external, it's somewhat forced upon you. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he uses different nomenclature for this Lokika Shraddha. He says Baladutpadita Shraddha means it's Baladutpadita. It arises from Bala, from force. It's forced upon you. You know, we have this social pressure, and everyone believes, and everyone, you know, Prabhu, did you chant this 16 rounds? You didn't chant 16 rounds. Very bad, very bad. And everyone chants 16 rounds, and then very soon nobody will know why 16 rounds, why only 16 rounds. Sometimes when I give initiation, people come to me and ask, please tell me how many rounds you will chant every day. And they say, I promise, Guru Maharaj, I promise to you that I will chant 16 rounds every day of my life. And I said, and what if you, by mistake, chant 17 rounds? Does it mean that you will break your vow? So the main point is that something when the face is we got the face from somebody, but it's very important to make it our own, the reality of our heart. It should be internal. If it's not internal, then we believe or we follow something, but we follow because everyone is following, and when we are on our own, we don't follow it because nobody sees it. You know, because there is no compelling reasons for us to follow. We don't understand why do we follow. It has not become really our face. It's still social face. It's just social, event. Somebody else needs it, that I chant 16 rounds, and so on and so forth. So, therefore, this Lokika Shraddha, it's usually very sentimental and it's very pliable, Somebody tells something and you immediately believe something. And you don't even ask whether it's according to Shastras or not. Somebody comes with some new ideas and you immediately go for it. You are easily influenced. Whereas if you have, and there are so many things, which we kind of blindly accept. Whereas Shastra, we have to understand that Shastra, there are so many strange statements in the Shastra, and we usually accept them blindly, but we have to understand that all the statements, they have meaning. Like especially when we take this 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is very far out description of this universe. And usually people don't even, they say, okay, if there is mountain Meru in the universe, okay, it's fine. But I have a very good friend, very nice devotee, Prem Gauranga Prabhu. And he told me about his approach. He said, I started reading this 5th canto, and of course it's mysterious, but he said, I was trying to understand how does it match with reality. When something doesn't match with reality, and we see it in the Shastra, if we have faith in Shastra, we will be bold enough to try to understand how does it match with reality. If we have Lokika Shraddha, we say, okay, you're right, okay, maybe it's like this. Let's not touch it. So, the real Shraddha means that it will not be difficult for it to undergo the test of reality check. So he said that Shukadeva Goswami in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in 3 verses which are very close to each other, gives the speed of the sun differently, different measurement of the speed of the sun. And he said, I started thinking about it. How is it? Shukadeva Goswami, it cannot be a mistake. If he would say this in the 2nd canto and then in the 10th canto, maybe he would forget something, and then he would say differently. But, he says something, so there must be some purpose why he gives the different measurement of the speed of the sun in the same 5th canto. Why? And he started thinking and figured it out. He said, no, I understand that this is according to the zodiac, this and that. And he, more or less, by using this lead, he deciphered, or how to say, deciphered the whole 5th canto. He said, everything matches with the observable reality. I can prove to anyone that the picture which Shukadeva Goswami is describing in the 5th canto is totally matches with the reality, observable reality which is there. Why? Because he didn't have Lokika Shraddha, he had Shastriya Shraddha. He believed in Shraddha, he believed in Shastra. And therefore he started thinking, how is it? And Shastra revealed it to him. So this is how it happens. Some strange statements are there in the Shastra, but these strange statements is not to turn off our intelligence, not to turn us into blind believers. The strange statements is the test of our faith. We should think and ponder over these statements again and again and again, and ultimately the meaning of it will be revealed, especially if we have bhakti, the devotion to God and devotion to Guru, and then prakashante mahatmanaha, for those great souls who have devotion to Shastra, to Guru, to sadhus, Shastra reveals itself. So this is what it is, and but for those who have Lokika Shraddha, it's very weak and very sentimental, and people they don't even know. They say this is I don't understand. This is far out, and what it is. So that's another thing. And the third element or the third quality is very interesting. Srila Jiva Goswami explains the third quality by quoting this famous verse, Apichet Suduracharo Bhajate Mama Nanyabhak Sadureva Samantavyak Samyak Vyavasito Hisa. Krishna glorifies somebody, even if he is doing the most abominable things. Apichet Sudurachara, Sudurachara. Not just Durachara, Sudurachara. He's doing really bad things. Bhajate Mamananya Bhak, but still he worships me. Sadhureva Samantaya, he should be considered as a sadhu. So Jiva Goswami takes this verse and he says, this person has Lokika Shraddha. He has very strong faith. Bhajate Mamananya Bhak, he is very determined, he is fanatical, but still he is doing bad things. What does it mean? It means that he doesn't have Shastriya Shraddha. If you have Shastriya Shraddha, you will never do abominable things. You will never do bad things. Because, first of all, it's forbidden in the Shastra, and you have trust in the Shastra, and so it's not compatible. So this description, which sometimes we glorify, Krishna says he is sadhu. Yes, he is sadhu, but he is a very beginning sadhu. Because he doesn't have the strong faith and he doesn't understand the meaning of the Shastra. And therefore he breaks the Shastra. And sometimes people say, and I have seen it, that they use this verse as a justification to break the rules of the Shastra. I believe in Krishna, and therefore I can steal for Krishna. Of course, for Krishna. No, but Krishna doesn't want you to steal for him. Of course, Krishna steals himself, but that's another story. But the point is that Krishna says in the Shastra, don't steal. You're not supposed to steal. So, and people misuse this. Why? Because they don't know Shastra, they don't follow Shastra, and their face is not properly situated. Therefore, Krishna says, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma in the next verse, very quickly, if this face is proper, if this face is in Krishna, it's somewhat proper, but very quickly it should become completely proper. Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma, he becomes very, very dharmic, very pious, very soon. Why? Because he believes in Shastra, and he starts following the Shastra. And then, of course, one is dogmatic, this faith is just dogma, you follow dogma, I already said. And the Shastriya Shraddha is very rational. Those who have Shastriya Shraddha, they can explain so much. They know the meaning of the Shastra. They can reveal the meaning of the Shastra. And it's actually very interesting. So one very interesting quality of these two kinds of faith is that inevitably Lokika Shraddha makes one proud. I am a selected one. Only my face is real. We have the real face, and everyone else is just, they will all go to hell. But we are very, very selected club of very special people. Only we, only here. Everyone else is not real, not proper. We are good. Everyone else is not good. So that's very strong element of Lokika Shraddha. We're special, everyone doesn't know the truth. Whereas the Shastriya Shraddha, it makes one humble, you know. I'm not following, you know. All these people, they have such a strong faith, and I know so much, but I don't follow it so properly. You don't become proud. The pride is the sign of Lokika Shraddha. You only believe that only I'm right, everyone else is wrong. So this is Lokika Shraddha, because you need to protect your Shraddha. You're not so sure about your Shraddha. So pride is the protective mechanism. All these fanatics, if you think that fanatics have strong faith, you're wrong. Fanatics have very weak faith. To protect their weak faith, they put a very strong external appearance, externally. And, they always say, only us, only we, everyone else is wrong. You take any big religion, and when Krishna consciousness will become big, I'm very afraid of this. Because, the bigger, the more bigger organization becomes, the more element of this Lokika Shraddha will become ingrained into the fabric of the organization. The organization, because it's very easy to produce Lokika Shraddha. Very easy. People are prone to have this Lokika Shraddha, superstitious Shraddha. It's not difficult to produce it. We're special, everyone else is bad. Okay, fine. I will become, and I will go to Goloka. How are you going to Goloka? No, somehow or other, Prabhupada said I will go to Goloka. Prabhupada said so many things, but, he also explained the conditions of how you go to Goloka. No, I paid my, my little dakshina to my Guru Maharaj. And therefore I go to Goloka. Not necessarily. So this is all. So if we take all these big religions, they only protect their constituencies by these mechanisms of Lokika Shraddha. We are good, everyone else is bad. Why? By definition, by default. Now they have some rationale behind it, this and that, but it's usually not really deep, and it actually creates pride. What I want to say is that Lokika Shraddha creates pride, the real Shraddha creates humility. That's what we have to understand. If we have Lokika Shraddha, we have this ideal of Shastra. If we have Shastriya Shraddha, we know this ideal of Shastra, and we know where we are. Where we are? Nowhere. So why should we become proud? Our only hope is humility. I'm a mercy case. Narottam Das Thakur says, I am the most fallen. You came to save the fallen, so my turn is the first. Please, please take me. That's the humility of somebody who has Shastriya Shraddha. Whereas Lokika Shraddha always creates pride. This. Yeah, and I've seen it. only book distributors will go back home to back to God. Only Sankirtan devotees, only Bhakti Vriks, only this. You know, but this is all mechanisms. You know, we have to be on guard of this. It should not be, you know, we should not promote this sort of ideas. Those who have real love to God in their heart, they will go back to God.
Yeah.
Everything else is not proper. It should not be stated like this. That's we have to be very clear and not promote this wrong kind of faith. So, and then of course, another characteristic which is very important is that when we have this Lokika Shraddha, weak faith, we very much depend on the opinions of others about us. First of all, those who don't have strong Shastriya Shraddha, Shastric faith in their heart, first of all, they're not so much concerned about their own spiritual progress, they're always concerned about the spiritual progress of everyone else. They're always judging, you know. How is he doing? Okay. Instead of looking inside, they're looking outside. And at the same time, they are very much dependent on the opinion of others about themselves. They have to create some artificial status. I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. And they always try to get these affirmations coming from outside. Because again, the roots of their faith is not internal, is not in the heart. They need this affirmation. They really require this affirmation. Yes, I'm good, I'm pure devotee. Please tell me that I'm pure devotee. That's an internal sort of need, requirement. Because again, the faith is not so strongly established inside. Therefore, those people, they will have tendency to insult other people, to make offenses. Because it's, again, very much about the social status. This whole Lokika Shraddha is a social event. It's conventional faith. It's something which is happening in the society, not happening inside our heart. The real faith is happening internally inside our heart, and therefore we are not so much dependent on the opinion of others. Why do I care what others think about me? I care what Krishna thinks about me, what my spiritual master thinks about me, you know, and I know very well my frailties and my status. I know that I'm not so advanced. But I don't need these affirmations coming from outside, and therefore I'm humble. So, and then, you know, the last characteristics, I didn't mention everything. There is one more very important characteristics, is that Shastriya Shraddha, one who has Shastriya Shraddha, one who has Lokika Shraddha, he's complacent. He's self-complacent. I'm already there. I already paid my dakshina. I already got my, you know, proud name, Paramahamsa Das. You know. So what else is there? Srila Jiva Goswami says that one who has Shastriya Shraddha, it's somebody who wants to get the real goal. He always goes deeper and deeper and deeper and digs and digs and digs unless he finds the real goal. Whereas somebody who has Lokika Shraddha, he's complacent. I am okay. And yeah, I'll do this once a week. I will come religiously. I will, you know, attend my service in the church. Or I will pay this little donation to this or whatever. they do minimum. Whereas those who have Shastriya Shraddha, they really want to go, deep, unless they find the real truth. And then the ultimate sign is that Lokika Shraddha makes your heart very hard. So it's an opposite effect. The real Shraddha softens your heart. The real Shraddha makes your heart soft. Because I'm not very successful devotee. I'm trying and trying and trying, and you cry sometimes, you're desperate, you have this crisis, why it is, but because Lokika Shraddha is based on this pride, the heart becomes very hard. It's very difficult to penetrate this heart. It's very interesting. In the beginning we come, and we're coming usually to Krishna consciousness with open heart. But sometimes during the practice of Krishna consciousness in the society of devotees, when the society is not really properly tuned, the heart closes down. Some unnecessary qualities will develop in our heart, and therefore this is again a very important element. So basically, this is what I wanted to say about these two types, two varieties of faith, two varieties of Shraddha. One is good, another one is also not bad if it's believe in Krishna, in the process of Krishna consciousness and chanting of Hare Krishna. But we should not, if we see that there is some element of this Lokika Shraddha within our heart, we should try to deal with it and should try to weed it out. Because this is, all these elements, this is the weeds around the plant of our bhakti. The real bhakti is internal, deep internal faith in the scriptures, in the meaning of the scriptures, which is very much based on our internal conviction and understanding, and of course revelation of God, revelation of scriptures, which is coming to us through our service attitude. So that's very important to understand, and I'm just trying to see if I missed something or not, but I guess that's basically enough. Yeah. And ultimately what is very important is that my faith should be based on my experience. Whereas when we have this Lokika Shraddha, it's based on the experience of some authority. He tells me how to believe, and I believe. But in the beginning we may not have experience, but if we practice Krishna consciousness properly, with proper faith, we will get the experience, we will get the positive experience. And this experience will become the foundation of our spiritual advancement, which is very important. So, therefore, again, even though Lokika Shraddha is not bad, I don't say it's bad, but it's just beginning thing. And as I said in our first class, is that it's a duty of a sadhu or preacher to create the proper kind of faith and not proliferate or not to promote this wrong kind of faith. So the preacher has to create faith. He has to know Shastra himself.
He has to practice according to Shastra. He has to have some spiritual experience which he will have to transmit to others. But he has to teach from the Shastra, strictly from the Shastra, not from his concoction or imagination or anything else. And if he sees some manifestation of Lokika Shraddha in his followers, he has to correct it. And Prabhupada was very strict. In ISKCON society, there is a very peculiar element of Lokika Shraddha, or very peculiar type of Lokika Shraddha. The formula is, Prabhupada said, and Prabhupada himself said, so many people say, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said this. I never said this. Even during Prabhupada's time, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said. So Prabhupada himself was fighting with it. He came to one temple and somebody asked, Prabhupada, is it true that you said that one has to eat 4 chickpeas every breakfast? I said, I never said that. And then there were already theories. Somebody said 4 chickpeas, somebody said no, 10 chickpeas, somebody said never chickpeas. And everyone said, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said. This is typical Loka Parampara Shraddha, coming from this Loka Parampara, from the society. So Prabhupada knew the danger of it, and we have to understand that the more devotees, more devotees, happier devotees, what is the quality of these devotees? If there is more devotees, even if they are happier devotees, they may be happy because there are so many superstitions are floating around, and they invest their faith into these superstitions, and instead of investing it in Prabhupada's books and in the teachings of Vedic literature. And therefore Prabhupada was quoting again and again and again. If we take his books, what he's talking about, Shastra, only Shastra. And this culture of Shastra, quoting Shastra, referring to Shastra, basing our beliefs in Shastra is very important. Anyway, this is what I want to say. Any questions? Or shall we finish because it's late?
In India, there are a lot of channels which show the Lokik Shraddha programs.
Mostly, when the religion becomes big religion, it's only superstition, nothing. It's interesting. I once came to the parish of Russian Orthodox Church in London, and I spoke with the head of this parish. He was very nice, very intelligent man, Englishman. It's interesting, and he said to me, and of course, Russian Orthodox Church is not really, native or not traditional in England. And he said to me, in our congregation, we have many Russians and Ukrainians. They come once a year to get some holy water on their heads. But the real pillars of our congregation are Englishmen, who became believers in Russian Orthodox faith. When the faith becomes traditional, it just turns into circus, which is called Lokika Shraddha. Because my father believed and the father of my father believed. So I'm Ukrainian, therefore I'm Orthodox. Put some holy water on my head and I will be saved. He said, we have very nice people, they're all Englishmen. Not all, he said, but majority of them are British. And many Russians and Ukrainians who are like this. And the same thing we see in India, and the same thing. And Prabhupada, he created this miracle. He created this Krishna consciousness, which is based on Shastra. There are so many gurus, so many famous gurus, and they promote this Laukika stuff. They promote some belief in somebody, in some concocted god or something. You know, very successful organizations which promote this. It's strange. But Prabhupada was adamant. He said, Bhagavad Gita as it is. As it is. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj ki